Hey there friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing some meal prep for the week ahead, and I do want to go ahead and let you know that I started this meal prep actually last night because I knew that I wanted to do multiple things in this new food dehydrator, and I knew that I needed extra time to do that. So this dehydrator was actually sent to me by the company who makes it, and they asked me to do a review on my channel for you guys. So let me just go ahead and kind of give you my thoughts. First of all, it comes with these additional pieces along with the plastic trays. Today we are going to be dehydrating some apples and some sweet potatoes. I diced them really thinly using a mandolin, and then we are just going to place them in the dehydrator. My thought was that I could make something similar to sweet potato chips. I had never tried this before and I wasn't really sure how it would turn out, but I wanted to give it a try. I was really impressed with how well this dehydrator worked. I'm going to go ahead and set it now for 8 hours, and I'm going to let this run overnight. We have the sweet potatoes on the bottom and the apples on the top. So now we are looking at this the next morning, and the apples pretty much look like dehydrated apples. Not too much surprise there. We have pretty much all had dehydrated apples before. And then the sweet potatoes, while they did get dry, they were not crunchy, which is fine since this is just a dehydrator, but they didn't turn out exactly like I had expected them to or hoped. So we will try something different with this later. So today we are going to start our food prep with some buffalo chicken dip. This video is going to contain several of my absolute favorite keto recipes. I just really think that it's important when you're trying to stay on keto that you have recipes kind of up your sleeve that you absolutely love and can always turn to. So in my Instant Pot, I have 2 chicken breasts, and I am sprinkling in some of the Flavor God buffalo seasoning, and it wasn't quite coming out quick enough for me at first, so I just dumped a whole bunch of it in there. So I decided that I wanted to try to make some zucchini chips in the dehydrator. On keto, one of the things that I have missed the absolute most is chips and dip. I miss chips. I will be honest and say that. I miss that crunch. I miss the saltiness, and so I decided to thinly slice some zucchini, and here I'm adding some salt and pepper to the zucchini slices, and then I'm going to put them in the dehydrator and we will see how they turn out. I will have that for you at the very end of this video. I have high hopes for these, but again, we will see. If they don't turn out exactly as I am hoping, I might actually consider throwing them in my air fryer just to see if I can get a little bit of a crisp on them. But you can see they're in the the dehydrator, and they are going to dehydrate now for the next 8 hours. So the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is get started making some eggs. I almost always make hard-boiled eggs in my Instant Pot. It's just so easy. Basically, it's just the easiest way in my opinion. I have 4 eggs in this Instant Pot. I put in 1 cup of water, and here you can see I struggled with the lid a little bit. I always cook my eggs for 4 minutes, and that seems to get them exactly the hardness that I want them to have. So we will come back to the eggs. In the meantime, I'm going to start prepping some bacon. What I currently have on hand is some turkey bacon that I purchased from Sam's. I really like turkey bacon a lot. I'm not actually biased against any type of bacon, so I'm going to get some bacon on this cookie sheet that I lined with a little bit of foil, and then I'm placing the bacon on top of what is actually a cooling rack. This really helps the bacon to cook more evenly. I'm going to throw it in the oven at 400 degrees, and that part will be done. Next, we are going to start working on a recipe that I was given a long time ago. I would say back when I first started my keto journey, a very dear friend of mine gave me this recipe and told me it was one of her absolute favorites. And can I just tell you, each and every time I make this, it is absolutely delicious. It really helps me to stay on track. So any recipe that I have will be linked in the description box below this video. This is going to be, if I remember correctly, it's called low carb cheesy sausage puffs. Basically, they're just like heaven in the mouth. I don't know how else to put it. So we're going to cook the sausage and leave it there for just a minute. In the meantime, our eggs are done. Anytime you cook eggs in the Instant Pot, you want to make sure that you do a quick pressure release and you immediately start those eggs cooling down. So I'm going to dump in some ice and some water right into my Instant Pot. I really don't like having extra dishes to do. So anytime I can just use my Instant Pot, you're going to see I absolutely do that. So back to the sausage. We are going to go ahead and fully cook this sausage, and then I am going to put it on a plate lined with a paper towel, and we will come back to it later. So the chicken is completely finished. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. I did let the pressure naturally release, and so now the chicken is completely finished and ready for me to shred. And I am using this same meat. I don't really even remember what this is called. I use it for just about any kind of meat, but I'm using it to shred the chicken. So the only thing on this chicken was the buffalo seasoning from Flavor God. I'm going to get this all chopped up, and then I'm going to set it aside while I work on a few other things. As you guys can see, this is an absolutely irreplaceable tool to have in the kitchen. So I am actually going to switch my liner to my Instant Pot. Yes, I do have more than one liner. I got that super cool idea from Neely here on YouTube a long time ago, and I just knew that I needed to have more than one liner to put in my Instant Pot. So I'm going to put in this new liner some frozen ground beef. This is 1.5 pounds of frozen ground beef, and now we are going to be making some keto chili. And I really want to make sure you guys can see that this is frozen. So the ingredients that we're going to be using are the ground beef. I'm going to be using onion powder, red onion, granulated garlic, cayenne pepper, cumin, chili powder, salt and pepper, and then 2 different kinds of tomatoes. The original recipe called for Tony's seasoning, and I really thought that I added it to my grocery pickup order, but it did not show up at my house, so I'm not sure what the deal is there. We are just improvising, and that's why I'm using the cayenne pepper. So I'm going to mix all of my seasonings into this small little container. That way I can make sure that they get really nice and blended in there when I put them in the Instant Pot. It just makes it easier in my opinion. So we're going to pour the tomatoes right on top of the frozen ground beef. This is a large can of fire roasted tomatoes, and then I'm also using a can of mild rotel. I'm putting the seasoning right on top of that, and then I'm finishing it up with some red onion, and I will plop the lid on this Instant Pot, and we are going to set this on the chili or bean setting for 30 minutes, and you guys are going to see this looks absolutely delicious when it's finished. In the meantime, I have my chicken over here ready for me to complete this recipe. So I'm going to pull that in front of the camera and let's get started. To the shredded chicken, I'm going to add 1 block of cream cheese. And this cream cheese I did have to pull out of my freezer and defrost it a little bit. Keep in mind, anytime you freeze cream cheese and you have to defrost it, it is going to change the texture of it just a bit. So just be aware of that, and maybe don't plan on using it on, a bagel. Granted, if you're a keto, you probably don't eat bagels. But I am using about 1/2 cup to 3/4 cup of ranch dressing, and yes, I fully know that that is a very dirty version of ranch, but we are using what we have right now. We will make do. And then I also added 3/4 cup of hot sauce, and this is just the original hot sauce. I'm also using a couple of different bags of cheese, again, just using up what we have in the house. And I'm going to stir this all in, and then I'm going to put this in a baking dish, and I'm going to bake it in the oven. And you guys, baking it in the oven is absolutely the game changer here. It completely gives all of these flavors a chance to marry together, and this is so delicious. It is one of my favorite keto-friendly recipes, and to be honest with you, both of my oldest daughters love this as well. I'm topping it with just a little bit more shredded cheese, and then in the oven it is going to go. So now we are going to pull out that sausage that we cooked, and we are going to finish these sausage puffs. These are the ingredients that I'm going to be using, and I will walk you through the process. To a bowl, I'm going to go ahead and add all of my sausage, and as you can see, it really is important that you take the time to let your sausage kind of sit and the grease drain off of it, because there can be quite a bit. So I'm adding some cheese in here, again, just using what I have. I have some white cheddar and some regular cheddar, 2 tablespoons of sour cream, I'm going to mix up these 4 eggs. I really like for them to be kind of scrambled a bit before I pour them in. And I have some butter here. Again, I'm going to leave this recipe for you guys, so the exact measurements will be available to you. But I'm mixing a little bit of the butter in with the eggs, and then I got a little worried that I might start to scramble the eggs because that butter was still a bit warm. So I'm just going to pour the rest of it into the bowl. I'm also going to be adding in some garlic powder to this recipe, some baking powder, some coconut flour. This is an absolutely delicious recipe. This is the coconut flour. You're going to use a 1/3 of a cup, but not level. You want it to be slightly heaping 1/3 of a cup. Okay, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and add some baking powder to this mixture, as well as some salt and some granulated garlic. The garlic really takes this just to another level. It adds quite a bit of flavor, and although the recipe calls for 1/4 teaspoon, I actually double that because I love garlic. I'm going to give it all a quick stir, and then I'm going to transfer it to the muffin pans. So I have found the best way to cook this is in a mini muffin tin. The original recipe said that you should scoop out the sausage mixture and roll it in a bowl and then cook it on a cookie sheet. But when I did that, because of the really high fat content in this recipe, it kind of just melted and went everywhere. So my husband gave me the great idea to use my mini muffin tin. I will say though, make sure that you put your muffin tin on top of a baking sheet, because this can still have grease that will spill over the edges, and trust me, you don't want that to happen. So I'm pulling the buffalo chicken dip out of the oven, in go the sausage puffs, and look at that chicken dip. It is absolutely delicious, you guys. I cannot recommend this recipe enough. So the next thing that we are going to be preparing is just really, really simple, good old tuna fish salad. This is one of those things that I like to have on hand about every other week. If I make it every week, I find that I get burned out on it. And so it's not something I make all the time, but I do like having it, and it's so simple. And if you're careful with your ingredients and how you eat it, it's really keto friendly. So I am peeling all of the eggs that I cooked in the Instant Pot, and then I'm going to start putting this together. I am chopping my eggs in this progressive chopper. I have used this for several years, you guys, and I absolutely love it. It makes chopping eggs or onions or tomatoes or even potatoes, anything, just so incredibly easy. You can have big chunks or little chunks. I like big chunks of everything. So I'm adding the tuna to the bowl as well. And then I'm going to add a little mayonnaise, but not a lot, because I'm not a big fan of mayonnaise. I'm actually going to go heavier on the mustard because I love mustard, and that's just how I prefer it. This week I actually decided to add some of these diced jalapenos to my tuna salad. I've never tried this before, but it actually gave it a really nice flavor. It's definitely not spicy. These are very, very mild. And I am going to go in with some pickles as well. Now, I love pickles, and I could add so many pickles to this, it would be ridiculous. But you do have to be careful when you use pickles in recipes or at all, because they do contain carbs. So I'm using about 1/4 cup, and I just gave them a really rough chop because I like big chunks. The seasoning I'm putting on here is just a mix of salt and pepper and garlic powder. Those are the ones that I tend to find myself reaching for the most. And so I decided just to put them in a container so that I could just use them, and it would be just easy to grab one thing. So give it a quick stir, give it a quick taste test. It is delicious. And then we are going to put it in a bowl, and it will be ready to go for the week. Like I said, I don't make this every week, but about every other week, and it is a keeper. So at this point, the chili is ready, you guys. I put this ground beef in here completely frozen. It is now 100% cooked. It is so easy to break apart. Look at that. It is so incredibly delicious. I will show you guys how I plan on using this a little bit later in this video towards the end, because this is something that I won't eat probably just by itself. And I will put this in individual containers and probably freeze it. So finally, we have come to dessert, and can I just be honest with you guys and tell you I'm a little bit disappointed because the filming of my dessert portion of this video did not go as planned. So here I am scooping out 3/4 of a cup, and I couldn't find my 3/4 cup measuring cup, so I'm using a 1/4, and you'll see I used it 3 times. I'm using the natural peanut butter. It has nothing but peanuts and salt in it, and I'm going to melt that in the microwave. Now, I filmed me adding all of these ingredients to the bowl, and I had no idea that my camera was not running. So now I'm just showing you the ingredients, and I'm going to start mixing all of these together. This is going to get really thick, and I will say, if you guys don't want to use the chocolate flavored PB2 powder, you can definitely use the original. I just chose to use chocolate this time. So the topping for this dessert, which by the way is no-bake peanut butter bars, the topping is chocolate chips that I'm going to melt in the microwave with some butter. And it is going to go all over the top of this dessert and be absolutely delicious. So you need 3 ounces of chocolate chips, 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I'm going to microwave this together, pull it out, and give it a stir until it is nice and smooth. I was so disappointed that I wasn't recording when I added all of those ingredients for you guys. I guess that's just how it goes sometimes when you're a YouTuber. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to work on getting the actual base of the peanut butter bar into this baking dish. This, I believe, is a 9x9 baking dish. I've done this in a couple of different ways. I've actually made them individual, but this time I just wanted to keep it a little bit easier. And I'm trying to spread it out with this tiny little spatula, but it's getting a little bit difficult. So I'm going to switch to a bigger spoon, a metal spoon. And for the purposes of counting macros, if you do that, you do want to try to get this as smooth as you can or as even as you can, because you really don't want to have one bar that has just a lot more of anything. So I've got it all spread out, and now I'm going to put the topping on here. This is so heavenly. One of my absolute weaknesses is peanut butter eggs or the trees. Just peanut butter cups in general are an absolute weakness for me. I miss them so much, but can I just be honest with you guys and tell you, these bars are so delicious. They completely replace that for me, and I don't know what I would do without them. Delish. All right, let's go ahead and start packing up our food. This is the bacon that I prepped, and of course, you know how it is with kids and bacon. They already came in and stole some. Totally fine. I don't mind sharing. I feel good about them having this as a treat. So here are the sausage puffs as they're coming out of the oven, and I want to show you guys what I was talking about when I told you that some of the grease can start to spill out. So I'm surprised that it only happened with this one, but that will happen, and if you get too much of that in too many, covering the whole pan, it can actually drip down and cause a fire. So please be careful. So here is the keto chili that we have prepared for the week, or actually this will last far longer than a week. We have made some turkey bacon. I made tuna salad to have as a snack or lunch. We made some sausage balls, and the dessert. I just can't even with the dessert, you guys. We also made the buffalo chicken dip, and finally we have our zucchini chips, which still have 5.5 hours. We will see how those turned out. Alright guys, let's do a quick check-in. This has 22 minutes left. They are looking very dehydrated. So pretty soon I will pull them out and try them. I don't know, we'll see. But this is gorgeous. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to cut it into squares, and I will show you what this looks like, the finished product. And you better believe I will be having some of this tonight after dinner. As you can see, it cuts very easily and very clean. And I usually cut this into about 16 squares. And there you have it, guys. Easy no-bake peanut butter bars. They are absolutely delicious. You have to give this a try. Recipe will be linked down below. So this is how I am planning on using the keto chili that we made today. And by the way, here it is in its container. I still need to portion it out. But whenever my family has chili dogs, I don't really care for the bun anyway, and I don't eat bread, so this is how I'm going to have it. I have chili on the bottom, a hot dog, avocado, some cheese, and mustard. So everything here is what I normally would eat on a hot dog except for the avocado, but I just need to make sure that I'm getting enough fat. So this is going to be my dinner. It may look delicious to you, it may look repulsive. I promise you it makes my belly very, very happy. So I'm going to go ahead and eat this, and that is keto chili. So the verdict is in on these zucchini chips. The taste on the ones that I put salt and pepper on was fine, but as you can see, it is extremely soft. Yes, it is dehydrated, but there is absolutely no crisp or crunch to it at all. So it is not going to work as a chip, but the flavor is not bad, especially the ones that have salt and pepper. So I guess we will move on to the next experiment.